Hello, loved ones. Welcome to the Whose Life Is It Anyway podcast. We made this for you who are now ready to help create a world that works for everyone. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. We're talking to Jaymin J Patel, who is a growth coach and soul mentor to high achievers. Is that right?
That's right. Well, hey, everyone.
Yeah.
And we are going to talk about what it takes to have a life that is fully lived. What does that mean to you, Jaymin?
Fully lived is this idea of the best way I can describe it is finding abundance in health, wealth, and love. And it's like this feeling where, you're like on vacation, you've had a day of adventure, it's sunset, you're eating a beautiful meal, and you just think to yourself, like, wow, like I feel alive, like everything feels possible, right?
Yeah.
It's taking that moment, but not just reserving it for those moments on vacation, but to experience that every day. And that's available to everyone, but we're so conditioned by society and the world and 18 years of going to school to live life a way in which it's like gut to grind and do whatever. And I love this idea of whose life is it anyways, because fully lived is about taking the deepest control of your life so that literally miracles are just occurring every day. And you go from like, yeah, my life is good to like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life. And that transition is my favorite things to help support people on.
God, I love you so much already. Wow.
Yeah.
This is what we want. This is what everybody wants, right?
And
Because that's what I want.
Yeah, and it's a birthright. Like we've actually had a day like that today,
Yeah.
and they're happening more and more the more we kind of let go of our trying to force things to be in a certain way.
Yeah.
Like we met this guy today, and there was just like tons of puppies everywhere, and he was just living life from the earth. Like he grew his own food and grew his own olives and
Made his own cheese.
What a wonder, right?
yeah,
Like,
it was amazing. And it's like that didn't cost it, like it didn't cost him anything to have the perfect life, and we came there just like happenstance and had this wonderful connection with him, and that didn't cost us anything. So how do you guide people to go from the grind, you say, to achieve what?
Yeah, to the surrender or to just be.
yeah, perfect. So the main type of person that I work with is usually like a business owner. They feel successful in some way, whether it's financial, whether it's like a family life. Like look at you guys, like just taking off across Europe with your family. Like that's success for so many people. It could be publishing a book or creating an album, right? And then they get to that point of they're doing it, and then they think, okay, I'm successful, now what? What follows? There's somewhere I feel like I want to be, but where is that? There's something that I feel like I want, but what is that? And so I love guiding people who have the drive to get to somewhere, wherever that might be. I don't define success, but I help people who feel like they're there and then they want to know what more is possible. And so within that, there's a variety of things. Like some of the work is subtractive. So we're taking away some of these things that get in our way. A lot of it is societal programming that we've received, again, as I mentioned, through 18 years of schooling and through media and all this sort of stuff. The other work is about going in and it's like about activating. So one of the main things that I love doing is working on the transpersonal level or the archetypal level. So I'm not sure if you guys have done a lot of archetypal work, but it's literally connecting, and I connect with 7 specific archetypes when I do this work. And it's the king, the prince, the warrior, magician, lover, navigator, and sage. And of course, with women, it's the queen and the warrioress, right? So through those archetypes, what happens is a whole world opens up beyond the one that we know. And when we connect into our king energy, what it's actually doing is it's not like make-believe. It is in a way, it's fun and fantastical, but the archetypes have survived for so long in the history and the stories that cultures have passed on for generations because we always connect to them. And, Hollywood movies are made with them. And what happens is when we connect into our own king, it's an avenue for us to come into our own sovereignty, for example. right? And what it does is connects parts of ourselves that exist, but we don't know how to access them as one. And the archetype comes in and cuts across and says, okay, now you're speaking to your heart and your fear and your soul and your desire, like all of these parts of our psyche, and gives them voice. So there's a lot of activating work that also needs to be done. And through that, I call that eradicating layers of identity. So I think the people who are most rewarded with having miracles occur in their life, they are ever curious, right? It's just the way that you're curious of what happens when we travel around. What happens if we go see this guy who's living on his own? That curiosity gets rewarded. And the more curious we can be, the more willing those people are in order to eradicate those layers of identity to come to the next layer. Now, the thing is, a lot of those layers are very scary for people to remove because right behind them is two major things that are like my main focus, like the very center of my work. And that is worthiness and emotions. So as we take out, right, you're feeling me on this. So it takes a lot of worthiness and self-understanding to take off and leave the normal job and do whatever it is, and then go off with your family around the world, like taking control of life. Whose life is it anyways? Is an amazing question to ask. And those who are ever curious and have done that worthiness work or deservingness and say, I deserve better than this normal day-to-day 9 to 5, or running a group of people in my business or whatever it might be, into I can separate from that and I can have that and more, right? So the worthiness comes in. And to me, when I work on people's worthiness, or what I call their deservingness and their level of deservingness they feel, when they've told their whole life, don't ask for too much, don't be too much, or you're not enough, whatever those stories are that we've been told over and over, in that deservingness is really the power to come in and say, like, there's more for me here. And so a lot of people who work with me, they've done different kinds of coaching already, and they're like, okay, but I still feel stuck. And so when we open up that worthiness, then they can really make that shift into going the other way. Now, the other thing that comes up are emotions, right? So hidden with the story of having to put away a part of ourselves because we were told that we're too much or that we're not enough, and then we had to do something else to be loved, and we have to get an A+ and compete with our classmates instead of collaborate and raise everybody up together. I mean, all of these programs that every day were part of our lives, there's grief, there's sorrow, there's shame. And so one of the things that I love to do is to take emotions as we kind of know them today that are kind of wonky, and I align them so you can understand. I always say to people, I spent 30 years avoiding shame, and now it's my favorite emotion because I understand it differently. I relate to emotions differently. And so when I feel shame, now I get excited. So behind the layers of eradicating these layers of identity, which is always fun, like, people love taking personality tests, or they work with gene keys or human design, all this gives us information about ourselves. Excellent. But that's just the one layer. When you get to a deeper layer, you need to pass through the worthiness and the deservingness, and you have to pass through the emotionality. So I help people shift into that work of eradicating and understanding how to re-relate to their emotions. And then there's 3 layers of emotional mastery that allows that to occur, right? So that's the second part of the journey for people who want to take control of their lives and move into a life that's fully lived. Because as long as you're listening to somebody else, as long as you're connected into that past identity that's been told what to do and how to be and what success is and la da da da, and we're caged by that, we're not going to take the full reins all the way. And I love when that people just reach out and they get that full rein. They have that transition and the transformation. The final layer, though, there's one more layer, is that once you do see yourself, and it's almost like you're taking off a mask and you're seeing, like, oh my God, I've been wearing this mask. And on the other hand, you're putting on a pair of glasses. You're like, oh wow, I'm seeing a new color in the world that I didn't even know existed. So you get all this new identity, you do the emotional work, and then you have to re-relate to the world around us. Yeah. Because maybe 99.8% of people are still living that way. 0.2% of us are taking life by the reins, you know, and we're all like on our own path, and it's beautiful, right? So there's not like a right and a wrong here. It's just a layer of readiness, of awareness. When you become more aware of what's available and you're ever curious, as I said, and you're driven and you feel some kind of soul calling, some soul alignment of like, okay, I feel like this is not me. I need something else, right? All of those three things are what I think identify a great person who can take their life control back. The final layer is then re-relating to the world around you and being the ripple effect,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I feel like my life is. I feel like my life is to shine as an embodiment of possibility so people can see like that's all really possible. Like this guy I knew from this small town in America, graduated with 94 students, like is now doing all this stuff. Okay, like that. And so for anyone who's making impact or making influence, you know, I love working with them because then the ripple effect gets really big. And that final layer is what I call the languaging of happiness. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the words that we used, for example, you might find people who say, oh, well, yeah, you know, I'd love to do this, but I got to do this. I have to do this. I
Yeah.
should do that. And once I get that done, then I want to do that. Right.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example right here that you can use. Change that wording to get to. I get to experience this maybe challenging thing so that I can grow. Instead of, oh, I have to submit my report, or I have to, you know, apply for this job, or I have to prepare for this interview. It's like I get to. As soon as you just make that little change of languaging and saying, wow, I get to prepare for this interview.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've been preparing my whole life for this interview. I can't believe I have this interview right now. Amazing. So the same thing is happening, right? It's the way I like to think of it is like two people go on a roller coaster. One of them can come off and say, oh, I feel so alive. I love this. And the other one's like, I'm never going to go on a roller coaster again.
Yeah.
That's us. That's exactly. I love roller coasters. She hates them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's the person, right? It's not the roller coaster. It's
No, no,
the
no.
person. So it's not life. It's not like you got this and you have that. It's like everything is possible for everyone. It's my favorite saying, everything is possible.
Yeah.
And so the third part of the journey is to equip people with more of this ways they're staying stuck in their language that's causing a lack of fulfillment, a lack of happiness, a lack of satisfaction in their lives, and switch it to, you know, I love this one. It's like, I get to. If you just change your languaging to that, you're like, oh, wow, I get to experience whatever is happening right now. I get to. And then you find the excitement and the gift in it. So that's just like a little sampling of what's possible when you take all these steps.
But
So let me pause
that's not
there.
a
That was a
little
lot.
thing, though. That's not a little thing though. That's like having that insight. I mean, the stuff we've been through when we got our daughter, the whole thing. I mean, we've been dragged kicking and screaming through all of that. But without all the stuff that we were dragged through, we could never have had the growth and the.
We would never have.
We've never have met you. I mean, and
Yeah.
so if we had been able to, I know that we weren't at that point, because we weren't at that point in our life to have that realization. But if we could have gone into all those experiences knowing that what it enabled us to do further down the road, it would have been like, it would have completely changed the whole thing around. It ended up changing the whole thing around, but we could only do that from the vantage point we have now. But we are now more able to do that. So the inside of that is like, that is really great. You are offering all the viewers here a free workshop. Could you speak a little bit into that?
Yeah, it's an amazing workshop that I truly feel will just create this ripple effect and help open people up into possibilities. So it's something that when I taught it, I was charging $200 for it, but I want to offer it for free because it's now it's recorded, it's done, and it's definitely worth, I think, more than that. But it's called I'm Successful, Now What? And it's this idea of like, okay, when I get to this point where I feel like, okay, life is good, how do I get to, oh my God, this is my life? Like, right, what is that next? And for most people, next is this uncharted territory. And there's no kind of tools to navigate, like, again, that feeling of, I know I want to go somewhere, but where? I know I want something, but what? So I've actually been so blessed in ways that through the unique set of experiences I've had in my life, this tool has come together. It's just kind of come through me. And it's called the Diamond Path to Life Mastery. And I take all of the different pieces of life and I show exactly how they are related. So if there's a part of your life that you want to increase in, for example, worthiness is in there, right? So if you want to work on your worthiness, I show you the gateway to get to worthiness. So some of the components in there are obviously success, happiness, impact, sex, emotions, expression, peace, love, business, money, power, all of the things that we know, but then there's all these other ones that we don't really think about. So what it does is just like, wow, there's life. This is life. This is the path to life mastery. And it just opens up and gives folks context of how to look at life in a different way and just navigate their life in a way that everything can rise. And a couple things that you'll notice is that success will not always lead to long-term satisfaction.
Just a moment.
Hey there.
Sneak
How's
in.
it going?
Can I say hi?
Hi, good to see you. I love kids.
This is the one that started the whole thing.
This is
Okay.
our grandmaster.
Yeah, this is our grandmaster teacher.
Amazing.
We would not have.
Aren't children the best teachers?
Yeah.
Oh my
Here's-
God. Yes.
The best in the worst way.
Yes, exactly.
Kan vi gå ned under skat? Nej, gå ned under skat. Vi kommer lige om lidt.
Okay. Går du selv gå ned? Jeg klarer det.
Dygtig.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the gift is the full recording of that masterclass, in which I will just really share a lot of my philosophies and ways to change your perspective on how you look at life, so that you can see what more is available for you, and then literally go through this actual tool and just make it available for people so that they can begin to navigate life on their own. So that is a gift for all the participants and viewers who are drawn, soul aligned, as I said, to I want to know whose life is it anyways. I want to take the reins. Like, this is your reward for that.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, when you do, like, as you say, the next tool will show up for you, the next path will show up for you. So and so there's another tool to grab for those who feel called to do that.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about all these emotions, like shame and fear, how do you help people stand in those? Like, because to let go of, so you have your habits, you have your job that you feel attached to because, like, it pays the bills, it does this and that for me, and I have these dreams, but I'm scared to follow the calling from my heart. How do you guide people to stand in that? Yeah.
So there are so many specific individual journeys that we have with each emotion, and we have like maybe 5 minutes here, so it's a lot to squeeze in. But what I want to do is offer. I want to offer. I know I could go for hours. This is my passion. I want to offer a perspective shift that's going to be really powerful. Okay, and that's this. Life is about emotions. Okay, we in society have termed these as positive and negative emotions, right? So joy, pleasure, bliss, orgasm, and then, fear, shame, anger, sadness, right? So that's the wording there is like positive and negative emotions. No, our soul is programmed to want to experience everything. No matter if we have $1 billion, we will still feel all of the emotions, and thank God, it means we're alive. So what I want to encourage everyone here is that it's not about not feeling those things. There are comfortable and uncomfortable emotions. Okay. So they're comfortable to feel joy and bliss, but it can actually be uncomfortable for some people. And it may be uncomfortable for most people to feel sorrow, shame, and those things, but it may feel really comfortable for certain people. So there's comfortable and uncomfortable emotions. Now, here's the thing. This is the perspective shift that I want to give, is that if we're always going to be feeling this, no matter what, right? What happens in 99.8% of people is when we're on the downswing and there's a contraction, what happens? Netflix, porn, drinking, addictions, right? And we kind of like numb out on going down. But what we don't realize is that we then forebode joy. We can't reach as high. And then we're numbing out up here. So we're never too happy. We're never too sad. We're never too happy. We're never too fearful. We're never too, you know, and we just, people are living their life like this. Okay, that's it. Imagine it's like a heart boop, boop, boop. When you're living fully lived, you're doing this.
Yeah.
You're doing the full go. So when you come into a point in your own life, whoever you are, whatever emotion your journey is with, again, just unique cases for each, but we can't go into each one. So when you're coming down into fear, sadness, sorrow, grief, shame, whatever that might be, if it's like a roller coaster and you're holding on and you're avoiding, what's happening? You're actually just delaying how much, and you're in it longer, and then you're stopping any momentum to shoot back up the other side.
Fantastic.
So the encouragement is to allow, and there's so many layers of emotional mastery that go into allowing. I know I'm saying allow, and that's difficult, right? But allow in your own way that as much as you can. And then you can go down and pick up the momentum to come up and begin to expand your life to when you feel more of the fear, shame, you know, sorrow, grief, anger, then you actually come up and feel more joy, more pleasure, more bliss. In fact, in sex, you will feel more orgasm. When you cry and you get angry in a healthy way, remember, anger is not bad, right? Anger is fine. It's hurting, letting your anger hurt someone, that's bad. Yeah. But because we confuse those two, most people avoid anger. And then they're having mediocre sex. It's all related.
This is why maybe that makeup sex is the best.
Yeah, because it's full of emotionality. And that's when it's so good. So this is the thing in the Diamond Path that's in the masterclass, is it puts all these together and you're like, oh, wow, like I see how this is influencing that. Because if you're avoiding your anger because you were told anger is wrong, which is misinformation, this is one of those locking it in. Yeah. Anger is great. Letting your anger hurt someone, not okay. No. But feeling anger in a healthy way, which we've never been taught, which is what I teach, is like, then we can go in and then we come out the other side and we're feeling more joy, more bliss, more pleasure, and better orgasm, you know? So everything is related, you know? And so yeah, so I hope people dive into the Diamond Path to see how they're related. They use some of these perspective shifts to know that what we've ultimately been told about emotions is wrong, and there's another way, and hopefully they can expand in their capacity and not go into a thing where it's like, okay, let me turn to my usual addictions and then, you know, just live a life like this. Yeah. If you talk about whose life is it anyways, yeah, people who are living are doing this. They're moving through it nice and quick, and they're spending time up there, moving through it nice and quick and spending time up there, and they're perfectly expansive, and that's where miracles occur.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you just saw, head on over to whoselifeisitsummit.com/podcast, where you can find full-length episodes as well as in audio format, and we do a lot of other cool stuff. You can hang out with us and other like-minded individuals who want to create a world that works for everyone, and we do that on our platform where we can chat, and we have Q&As and exclusive interviews as well. So there's so much to get over there. So come on over and play with us.